Hi, I'm Colin, and I'm here with Kevin.
Hey, I'm Kevin. I'm a compositing artist on Creed 3.
All right, Kevin. So, what got you into the whole VFX business?
A little bit of an interesting story. So, I was studying at BU in high school during the summers, and one of the teachers is a VFX artist. He's kind of like my mentor, and he got me involved, and then he was like, wait, you actually know what you're doing? And I was like, I guess I do. So, I kind of hopped in that way.
All right, cool. No, it's sick. What is like one movie that like had like the worst VFX that you were like, no, this is terrible?
So recently, I went to see Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh yeah.
And I can remember very specifically there's one shot where, spoiler alerts, they're at Olympus and it's a shot of Thor and there's just like clearly hair missing from the chroma key, and the CGI is all muddy and it's like not even animated when it clearly should be animated.
Oh yeah.
It's like a still plate, and it's also like a 15-second shot. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So you obviously know how like people are kind of saying Marvel has some iffy VFX. What makes Creed 3 different?
So Creed 3 is different because the way that we shot it was on black screen. I shouldn't say we because I wasn't part of that, just the VFX part. So it was a little hard to do all the roto, but it did get us a better result because we didn't have to take care of any spill suppression, and we didn't have to take care of a lot of the reflections, just like direct specular and other stuff like that, like sheen and specular. We didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
It also helped out with CGIing the crypto arena in the background, because that also is, it's a dark background, not a lot of lights going on there, so usually you're focused in on the ring and the fight. Another interesting part about that was like all the motion blur. So it's shot in 24 frames a second, except for the slow-mos, which we slowed down. So a thing about the motion blur and shooting with black actors on black screen is their hair is the same color as the background, and it all blurs together, so that's quite hard to deal with. It's a little challenge, but it was an interesting one to overcome.
All right, cool. And what was like the creative process for you like?
So the creative process, especially for me, on a bigger film like this, you have usually like the director, Michael B. Jordan, first-time director, but he knows Creed pretty well, and he also knows Rocky, so he knows where he's coming from. He has a pretty straightforward view. The creative part of my job is problem solving, so like getting the best roto possible out of something that seems invisible. Like trying to get the perfect shape of their head, or making sure that the referee's sleeve, isn't getting cut out and you have a random CGI person in the foreground. But also it is a little bit creative because in this Creed film, instead of like Creed 2 where it didn't look great and there were like all the lights coming down, we removed a lot of that.
Okay.
And they kind of asked us to use our artistic view to be like, that's a little bit too much, like it's a very color-wise, it's a very saturated movie, but it's also just purely photorealistic. There's no like magic going on.
No, that's awesome. Anyway, so what would like your dream job be?
I think my dream job would be working for Double Negative, the VFX house, on a Christopher Nolan film. I just love his work that he does, especially with like Tenet. That blows my mind. And then Interstellar, he puts so much research into what a black hole actually looks like, and then Double Negative really brought that to the forefront and kind of like showed it as a whole film. So I think they're a great department, and within like the science department within Double Negative, that just supports the entire house as a whole, and I think that's why they do so well. That or the movie.
What is some advice you'd give to someone who wants to get into VFX?
The best advice that I'd give is just kind of like work on it and on your own. I think a lot of my skill development came when I was just like, I wonder how to do this in a personal project, and then building on that, just kind of started out with 2D, like, making stuff like Harry Potter trailers, and then learning CGI and stuff like that. So really just like find your passion within it and then just kind of like follow that. If you find yourself doing one thing over and over again, that's your thing. Like, focus in on it and see how you can use that to your advantage.
Cool. And what is like a big difference between like a student project and like a professional studio project?
Yeah, so the biggest difference is between like a student project and like a big studio is, on a student project you have a lot more input, whereas the studio you kind of just have to deal with all the mistakes that they give you. Not only that, you have such a specific job, and a lot of the time you don't even know the context around what you're doing. Fortunately, I was at the one of the lead VFX houses for Creed 3, so I got to watch the entire film. They gave us the entire rough cut when we were working on it, but sometimes you only get like 5 minutes, and that doesn't even help a lot. So, you know, the biggest thing between the two of them is just like input, but also stretching yourself and your skills. On Creed 3, you have a very specific skill set. On a larger studio that you're working on, you're doing one thing at a time, and then with a student project, you're the roto, you're the CGI, you're the compositor, you're the simulation effects guy. Yeah, you're doing everything. Versus, this is your one task that you're very, very good at.
All right, so that is all the time that we have. Let's head it back to the studio.